Hey, and welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Brittany Aubain, covering for Darren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll explore an award ceremony celebrating outstanding minority and women-owned businesses and their impactful contributions to New York City's economy. Then we'll sit with an artist to discuss his mark on the world of art and design. We'll have more details later on in the show. Afterwards, we'll learn about Bronx Community College's online degree programs, allowing individuals to pursue their educational goals. Following that, we'll discuss how One Foundation is enhancing outcomes for cancer patients and facilitating access to clinical trials. Lastly, today is National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day, and we'll talk about how one organization is offering comprehensive health care to New Yorkers affected by HIV. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hey everyone, I'm Brittany Aubain, and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on throughout this past week. Let's take you through it with some Bronx updates. We begin with city news. New York is exploring the relaxation of job qualifications to facilitate the hiring of migrants with legal work status in the U.S. Officials are considering the creation of transitional titles for migrants with federal work authorization, aiming to fill approximately 4,000 state jobs, mainly in the hard-to-recruit entry-level positions. This initiative, not yet in effect, would exempt migrants from certain requirements such as English proficiency or proof of education and prior employment. The proposed transitional jobs encompass various fields, including care for intellectually and developmentally disabled individuals, custodial work, food service, facilities repair, and clerical positions. Governor Kathy Hochul's spokesperson emphasized the administration's commitment to modernizing the state workforce, reducing bureaucracy, and offering temporary employment opportunities for those legally able to work in the United States. In other news, New York State Governor Kathy Hochul recently signed a bill expanding its legal definition of rape to encompass various forms of non-consensual sexual contact. The state's current limited definition was a factor in writer E. Jean Carroll's sexual abuse defamation case against former President Donald Trump. Previously, the law narrowly defined rape as vaginal penetration by a penis. The updated legislation now includes non-consensual anal, oral, and vaginal sexual contact. Governor Hochul highlighted that this broader definition aims to facilitate the prosecution of perpetrators and ease the process for rape victims to bring cases forward. The law applies to sexual assaults committed on or after September 1st. The legislation sponsor State Senator Brad Holman-Segal noted these changes not only improve justice for survivors, but also make it easier for members of the LGBTQ+ community to hold sex crime perpetrators accountable. In transit news, the MTA is implementing a key measure to combat fare evasion in subway stations by introducing a 15-second delay on emergency gates at 3 locations, including the 3rd Ave 138th Street station in the Bronx. The delay requires commuters to wait 15 seconds before the door opens when pushed. Riders will sometimes use the emergency gates to exit the subway, and when the gate is open, new passengers slip through without having to swipe, passing through what the MTA refers to as fare evasion superhighway. The hope is that the delay will deter those using emergency exits for convenience rather than emergencies. However, some commuters express concerns about potential safety implications during genuine emergencies. The broader application of these 15-second delays across the city's subway stations is currently uncertain. That's all for the Bronx updates. We have to take a quick break, but we'll have more open when we return.
I remember when the Bronx did not really have a media outlet properly representing the people of the Bronx.
BronxNet provides for the community by being a community where people can be empowered to share their voices.
We are in a really great place technologically. We've got all the resources that we need to be effective.
Whether it's through cameras, storytelling, editing, we have provided those services for 30 years.
BronxNet's mission is to be a voice for the community.
To educate, to inform, and to inspire.
And you can be a part of it. We've built studios for you.
Welcome back. Two Bronx small businesses were recently recognized by the Five Chamber Alliance and TD Bank for their unwavering commitment to supporting and promoting minority and women businesses enterprises across all 5 boroughs. Here now is the owner of K&G Upright Consulting Inc., Kenia Gomez, and owner of SolTech Energy Inc., Telloyd Richards. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So Kenia, to start off, can you share more about the story of how K&G Upright Consulting came to be and the services it provides, particularly in the specialization of the New York City Housing Lottery?
Yes, thank you for inviting us, for having us here. I think it's a very interesting story. K&G, we were born at the end of year 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. I have experience working with different management office on the housing lottery system in New York City, using Housing Connect and helping families to get new homes. So I was offered to lease up a building in the Bronx for the first time, 170 apartments all by myself. And I was losing my job at that time as well. The company I was working at that moment, I decided to just, you know what, let's give it a try. So we started, and another deal came up, and at the end, I had like 4 deals working together, working from home at the beginning, because during the pandemic, everything was from home. And with some connection with the city, and I was able to start the business, get everything going, and obviously get in contact for the certification, the women minority business certification, and everything started here.
Well, congratulations, and also congratulations are in order for you, Telloyd. You received the 5-borough MWBE award. So can you tell me, how does it feel to be recognized for your contributions to New York City's small business community, and how this award has impacted SolTech Energy?
Well, it's quite a bit of history. I've been working pretty hard over the years to, just to get the certification. Bronx Chamber of Commerce, particularly Chanel Perez jumped in, and she was very instrumental in me getting the certification. And once I got the certification, everything was pretty much smooth sailing from there. Got invited for a number of city bids, and I bid on quite a few. I've gotten some contracts, and just by getting the recognition, other businesses and people have reached out to me just recognizing me and congratulating me. Definitely an increase in business that I've seen as a result of it. So it's a pretty good impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now both of you have been acknowledged for your outstanding work. Can you tell us a little bit about the support and assistance you've received from the Bronx Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Resource Network?
Oh, definitely a lot of help we've been receiving from them. They guide me on the paperwork to obtain the certifications. Chanel, like he mentioned, from the Bronx Chambers, was an amazing help. It was not a struggle for me, just given the paperwork, and she did it. And it does help us, the certification, a lot, because we definitely are constantly informed, up to date with the news, what happened in the city, invited to different events that they promote, and also they help us to preparing with different trainings. The organization also has helped us to not only to obtain a certification, it's also to, like he mentioned, get the bids, get the information of different type of work that are available out there for minority, including the lower rates loans in case we need as small businesses. So the certification is definitely helping, and I hope the community take advantage of that because it does help us out for real.
Yeah.
Sure. The again mentioning Chanel, the Lisa was pretty good to with the Bronx Chamber leading, keeping us up to date on events in the Bronx and opportunities and stuff like that. You know, so definitely a plus in making sure that the businesses in the Bronx, you know, get service the way they should be. I strongly, as a small business owner, the tendency is for you to just kind of stick to being everything at the workplace. You know, I strongly suggest that, you know, they reach out to the Bronx Chamber and CEO of the Bronx Chamber can help them. They would be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, so you both mentioned kind of just the significance of that support. So Kenia, I want to ask you a little bit more about this certification. What advice would you give to other minority and women-owned business enterprises that are just starting out in terms of seeking this certification?
Yes, at the beginning, we always are lost. We don't know where to go, what to do. I think this is should be the first step for every person who decides to start their own business. Not only they help you, like I mentioned, with the certification, but they guide you also on the legal aspect, how you should negotiate your commercial lease on your first local lease that you would like to rent. So my advice is go and get the help you need. Go and allow them to help you, because it's good to have someone hand in hand when you're doing something for the first time in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lisa Soren highlighted diversity as New York's greatest asset. Now, how do you see diversity playing a crucial role in the success and resilience of businesses in the city?
She's pretty smart to identify that. The diversity plays. Everybody's going to bring something to the table, right? So the more diverse the city businesses are, the more it's going to be brought to the table, more opportunities going to be created, employment, and all that great stuff. People feel a lot more comfortable working with their own, right? So just by bringing different Dominican, Puerto Rican, Jamaicans, whatever it is, and having them help them build their business, then they're going to support tons of families that are going to apply and work directly and indirectly with the organizations.
Yeah. And we feel supported as minority. The diversity, it does exist here in New York City. I feel as a Hispanic and a female that I've been supported. I'm not alone. I've been working with the city agencies, with the organization like the Bronx Chambers, and also colleagues, learning their own business, and we creating a network. And I think that's important to recognize as well.
And so looking ahead, can you both share some respective goals that you have for your businesses?
So one of my goals, well, the first one is to become an MBE, which was, again, the Bronx Chamber was very instrumental in me achieving that, and then getting some city contracts, right? Every business is in the business of, primarily making money and eventually offering employment to minorities like ourselves and stuff like that. So I have a goal where I want to not only generate enough revenue so I could hire minorities, which is where I'm located in the Port Morris section of the Bronx, but also to train minorities in what I do in the solar industry, being an installer, an electrician, is something so that even when I'm not here anymore, they could continue to, showcase what they learn and apply to other companies or even other industries.
Absolutely. Kenya?
Yeah. I think that everything started with an idea, right? That we decided later to put together. And it was really an advance in our career and our goals to be recognized. Being recognized as entrepreneurs, as a small business, is telling us that we're doing good, that we're doing the job that we here come to do. And my goal is obviously Kenji to be bigger, to be able to help more families to find the right housing for them that they can't afford. With the city and us, not only KNG as a small business, but later on KNG nationally.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my goals also is not only to get the money that we deserve, right? But also, there's a lot of families that need to be informed what is the best way to get housing, educating our people to learn how the system works, how the housing lottery works, how their income should be calculated, so they can get the fair rents that they need, or they can apply to the rents that they can afford. So I think that the goal is more grow and grow with the community as well.
Absolutely. Once again, congratulations to you both, and thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
For more information, you can follow them on Instagram and Twitter at the new BXCC. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Happy anniversary to BronxNet, 30 years. Wow, brings back so many memories. This exact studio that I'm in right now, I broadcast out of here. This must have been around 2003. I mean, time flies by so quickly. I started out here, it was either Mr. Gary Axelbank and Mr. Batch with Lady Morsar. We used to do a show here called In the Neighborhood. And I brought so many different guests on this show. To be able to bring your voice to the community is very powerful. To bring hip hop and spirituality, I brought my pastor in this same studio, Pastor Gino Jennings, and I'm sure you guys know who Pastor Gino Jennings is. That's rough. And some disciplined teaching. BronxNet is something that we need to uplift our communities, because this is a platform that we can come, and if you have a vision that's in your mind going into your heart, you can use it to do uplifting things for your community.
Welcome back. Our next guest's impact reaches well beyond the canvas, making a lasting mark on the world of art and design. Taking a courageous leap, he founded Mijoshski not just as a showcase for his art, but as a platform supporting fellow creatives in realizing their dreams. Joining us to tell us more is Joshua Evans. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about your artwork and what elements or aspects make your artwork stand out from others.
So, I primarily work as a painter, oil paint to be exact. My paintings are specifically about the African American experience, and I try to portray that in a surrealistic way, in my unique way. And I like to talk about many of our battles that go unheard, such as our social issues and mental health.
And so tell me a little bit about the way you express your unique artistic voice, and what do you hope people take away from your art?
So for me, I've always seen art as a mirror. I love when people can look at my work and take aspects of it from their own history. I work in the figure a lot so people can see themselves in the figures that I create, but I also make the face and features ambiguous and abstract. And so for me, that's a great way to make my work a mirror for the audience.
And so art kind of became a tool for you to connect with others. So how does your artwork facilitate this connection, and what role does it play in the emotional process?
So my work, I think art is something that doesn't need language. It's something that for thousands of years has connected people from all cultures and all walks of life. And I just want to place myself and my work in that same narrative.
And so before you go into creating a piece, right, do you have kind of this pre-process, the ritual, whatever, that kind of thing? Do you have one of those? And if so, can you share?
Yeah, of course. I do. When I walk into the studio, you will smell a strong coffee each scent.
Okay.
I have to have it in the morning. And the coffee and the music are the two things. So the music isn't what makes my mood. My mood is what makes the music. So whatever I'm feeling is the playlist for the day.
So anytime we walk in, it's not going to be the same playlist,
It
right? We're going to
won't-
hear something different.
Yes, yes.
That's awesome. So, just share a little bit more about your mission or your mantra as an artist.
My mission as an artist and my mantra has always been to inspire people that come after me and even people that have come before me. I've come from a place called Mobile, Alabama, where art is not as big as it is in other places. So many people, especially the youth, don't know that you can make a career in these creative fields. So I really, truly want to trailblaze in a way for the people that come from my hometown and other people like me to show you can make something in a creative field.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned where you came from specifically. Art isn't something that's really not necessarily talked about, but something that's not emphasized and highlighted, right? And so we're here in New York City, which is one of the creative capitals. So can you tell me what was kind of maybe that transition like to go from Alabama to New York City? And it's like, I can, showcase my art here. And what was that like?
Oh my goodness. They're a complete 180 from each other. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to move around a bit before coming to New York, so I got kind of a prerequisite before the city, but there's absolutely nothing like New York and the art here. Everyone is so open and receptive to artwork here.
And so, can you tell me a little bit maybe about how you found a specific community within, the New York City art space or?
So right now I'm studying for my MFA at the School of Visual Arts. That was a very big stepping point for me to find a community and with my classmates and everything like that. And so they were the foundation for how I started to make a community here in New York.
And speaking of community, you're kind of taking that on your own with your brand, Mijoshski. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? What does that entail?
Yes. So Mijoshski is a brand I started. It's an art and design brand that's named after my father. I wanted to find ways to branch my work out into other avenues. And I, at the same time, wanted to, again, be able to give back to others. So myself, like many other artists, know how difficult it can be to make a name for yourself, make money off of your work. So with Mijoshski, I have been able to hire people such as designers and other artists for things, photographers for our brand shoots and things like that. So it's definitely been a way for me to help and give some help to the next person.
Yeah, and when it comes to Mijoshski, there's different avenues, right? There's skateboards, there's fashion, there's all types of stuff. So can you tell me how do you integrate your vision into these works?
So I love to tell people everything that I do with Mijoshski, as far as from the apparel to the home decor and collectibles, it all starts in my studio. I like to take elements from each of my paintings and incorporate them into the designs. So a lot of times you can see a piece from the brand and you can connect it back to one of the paintings that I've done in the past.
Oh, that's actually really fun. I like that. It's kind of almost like an Easter egg in a sense.
Yeah.
But speaking of, right, you talked about apparel, and New York Fashion Week is this week, actually. So can we expect either at Fashion Week this week or just coming up, in the near future? Is there anything we can expect when it comes to releases and all of that?
The fall, next
Okay.
fall. Yes, yes. This one, I'm excited just to get my feet wet and continue meeting new people, because this is only my 5th month in New York. But this coming fall, I look to put a stamp on it.
Well, congratulations. I mean, 5 months in New York and you're kind of already working a lot with your brand in the creative space. I think that's really a great thing.
Thank you.
But also, unfortunately, we do know that as any other artist, you do face challenges. So can you share what are some challenges you may face?
Of course. The challenges I face as an artist have ranged widely. I've experienced all types of things, from just trying to make a name for yourself, be heard in such a large sea of artists, and also get paid for your work. But those challenges are very widespread, and like I would tell anybody, just continue focusing on your work and what you do, and be smart about your business, and you can overcome them.
And so let's talk a little bit. We've talked a lot about, you know, your projects and where you are now, but I don't think we necessarily kind of backtrack. So how did you kind of land into the world of art? How did you become an artist?
So I had always been drawing since a young age. It was actually something I did almost instinctively as I watched different cartoons, different little anime and things like that. I was, as soon as I would watch them or see them, I would want to draw them. And as time progressed, I just kind of got better and better. And around my undergrad years, many things were happening, and I kind of went back to art as a solution to understand things that were happening, and I realized I could make a career out of my work.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. It's, you know, it's unfortunate because a lot of people, they're kind of brought up in different art mediums, and then it's like, once you turn 18, people a lot of times are like, okay, well, now you got to choose a real job. So I think being able to make money off your work, make a living off your work, and to do this just like any other job, I think is a really great thing. But looking towards the future, what are some goals that you have for yourself as an artist, for your brand, the whole thing?
As an artist, I will have my work in some of the major collections, such as the Brooklyn Museum, the Bronx Museum. I look to have it in major exhibitions, Gagosian. Also for my brand, I want to partner and collaborate with some well-known brands as well. And I look to spread out and branch out as much as I can to help other artists.
Well, Joshua, I think that was a great place to leave it. We are going to be on the lookout for this fall to see what you have coming. So thanks again for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
For more information, you can visit their website at joshuaevansstudio.com and mijoshski.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Aubain right after this.
The ability to have my show during this time is helpful because I can stay connected with my friends, still interview people, and share my content.
Welcome back. In recent years, an increasing number of students have embraced online education as a viable alternative to traditional in-person learning. Online learning has gained popularity for its ability to eliminate significant barriers to education, fostering greater equity and accessibility. Bronx Community College provides a variety of online degree diploma and certificate programs accompanied by comprehensive support services to ensure the success of their students. Joining us now is the Director of Online Learning at Bronx Community College, Jordi Getman. Jordi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So let's get into it. Let's get an overview of BCC's online learning program. What are some of the key features?
So, the online program emerged as a result, in a sense, of the pandemic, as all of us had to face the realities of going fully online unexpectedly. It was a tough reality for a lot of us to have to adapt to that. But the interesting thing that came out of it is that there were a series of different faculty and students that realized that this was a venue or sort of a modality that they really felt comfortable with. And so in seeing that, we decided, well, let's build an online program at BCC to cater to the needs of those students. We presently have 11 different degrees. There are more that are being added. Interested potential students can go to our website, bcc.cuny.edu, and look up the different programs. They're clearly labeled there. Anything from cybersecurity and networking to education, to English, and also even broadly general liberal arts studies. I'm not going to read off all the degrees, but you can go look on the website. And how did we decide to structure it? Well, we had already offered online courses at BCC. For a number of years, but we really decided that if we're going to offer an online program, you have to build it from the ground up and bring together faculty who really care about online teaching and learning, and also build a support structure for the students so that they can feel that even though they're online, they're not on campus. So a lot of the support system structures that we have built on campus and that have functioned for so long, how do you adapt that to online? And so that's what we really took on. We feel like we're still in the process of the first year of offering the online program, but it's growing pretty quickly, and we're very impressed with its success.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk a little bit about the structure in a little bit, but for now, amongst these 11 programs, or I'm sorry, these 11 degrees, can you talk a little bit about, it may not specifically target one group, right? But can you talk about maybe what group this will cater to the most and who it'll impact the most?
Well, it's very interesting because we've now been live for a year. We've been able to do look at the statistics, the types of students that we are attracting. The student that we have found typically joins the online programs is a student that tends to be a little older than students that the other students that go to attend the BCC. Typically about 4 years older. They have some experience in the workforce. I would venture to say that they've realized that they want to go further with their education after that experience in the workforce, and so they, at the same time, might still be working, probably are still working. They have a lot of responsibilities, and so the online degrees offer them the ability to take the courses at their own pace, on following their own schedule. So you can't go to class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, between, say, 10 and 2.
Right.
But maybe, those days later on in the evening after you get back from work, you're able to then concentrate on your work. So the fully online program, because it's what we call asynchronous, meaning that you don't have face-to-face classes, it really is perfect for students who are good at being self-paced, and they can actually engage in doing the work, completing it at their own, following their own schedule, basically.
Yeah, it's funny. I wanted to ask about that, right? Because like I had mentioned, I did most of my college online because of COVID.
Right.
But it wasn't as flexible because sometimes it was, well, no, you're at home, but you're still doing class from this date to this day and this time and this time. Right. So I like the fact that it's, even if you got to, start the work at midnight, like you have that schedule, you're able to pace yourself. And I think that's so beneficial. I also want to talk about maybe are there some financial incentives to doing school online rather than in person on campus?
That's a good question. Yes. So yes, the self-paced I think is incredibly important. We've always taken that as a sort of the crucial central element of how we're going to structure the online program. That also has its challenges because we wanted to make sure that we could offer support at any given moment of the day or night. And of course, it's impossible to have 24/7 support personnel. However, we have built a structure of support, a support system that allows for students who 3 in the morning are, having problems with one of their assignments. They can go online and get tutoring at that time, and they can also, if they need help with any kind of support elements related to their, whether it be tuition or admissions, registration, there's a system by which the next morning somebody from BCC will contact them and be able to address that with them. As far as incentives, whether you're in-state or out-state, CUNY has leveled the tuition costs. So, and there's definitely a lot of, for students at BCC who go through the online program, they have access to the same financial support that any other BCC student has. So most of our students will pay very little, if anything, to enroll at BCC because of the grants and financial aid.
I think that's amazing. And you spoke a little bit about, you know, if a student needs help, they can go on at any time. And there's that support system in that community of higher ups and professors and all of that. But let's talk a little bit about the community in the classroom, right? Because I think the one thing with college is you make friends, not necessarily friends, but you make peers with the people next to you and the people in front of you and all that. So when you're at home doing this by yourself, a lot of people may think, well, no, I'd rather go in person to kind of get that community aspect. So can you talk maybe a little bit about what does that community aspect look like from the online scene?
Right. No, it's a very good question, actually. And it's something that we, rather than looking at it only as how do you replicate that community outside of the classroom, we really wanted to start with inside the classroom. How do you develop a community within the classroom? And you know, your question is a very good one, because if you're asynchronous, not everybody's going to be in the same space at the same time.
Right.
However, because we have invested in like really helping faculty who are really interested in online education, helping them develop the type of engagement practices with their students that within the classroom start to develop that sense of community and connection between them, where they share ideas and they engage each other in a way that maybe they might not even be able to in a face-to-face class, because you're limited by the number of minutes that you can be together, right? So that's one side of it. The other side of it is that we're working very closely with our student services department at BCC, and have been developing ways of engaging students outside of the classroom, so that we can have points of contact, right, between students, and also with, apart from the services that we offer that are geared mainly to their, to their education, we would like to also be able to have them feel like they're connected to each other, and that they can share with each other their experiences, and maybe even help themselves each other out in their educational path. And then the last thing I'll say is, even though we're an online college, we do have a beautiful campus here in the Bronx that all online students have access to. They have access to all the services. So actually, most of our students right now live in the Bronx. So anytime they want to come on campus, they can do that as well.
Absolutely. You guys do have a beautiful campus. I've been there quite a few times. So with that, Jordi, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
For more information, you can visit their website at bcc.cuny.edu. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, also from The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray every week right here at BronxNet, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Wow, 30 years. 30 years of BronxNet public access television. I'm a girl from Brooklyn and came to the Bronx 25 years ago, started my journey on BronxNet on public access television in 2016, and BronxNet is where I got my start. BronxNet, I feel like, is a home away from home. They support all of my endeavors, and I wouldn't have been able to be on any of the other channels if it wasn't for the fundamentals that I learned right here at my start here at BronxNet. So I am so appreciative. My son says I should stop telling people I'm from Brooklyn, because I've been here now, Bronx Strong, for 22 years. So I'm so grateful, and I wish you much success in 30 years, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30 more, because public access is necessary so that people like myself can have a voice. Yes, BronxNet, it's your girl Kat from Kitty Rose. Check me out every Saturday at 11 p.m. right here, Channel 68, The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. Mwah.
Welcome back. Cancer treatment breakthroughs are advancing swiftly, offering hope for many late-stage cancer patients or those whom conventional treatments have failed. However, the accessibility of cancer clinical trials is hindered by the financial strain of travel, particularly for those with limited means. Joining us now to discuss more is the CEO and founder of Lazarex, Donna Dornsife. Donna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Brittany.
So can you share more with our viewers about the Lazarex Cancer Foundation and its mission to improve access to FDA clinical trials?
Absolutely. I started Lazarex in 2006 as a result of a personal family situation with cancer, and came to know firsthand the barriers around navigating through clinical trial options. And then we were faced with having to constantly reach into our pocket to cover the out-of-pocket expenses for travel, to get my brother-in-law to his clinical trial. And I just really felt that that was fundamentally wrong, and that we needed to do something so that everyone could have access, equitable access to breakthroughs in clinical trials.
And so clinical trials can be used as an alternative if the traditional methods of treatment aren't working. Can you explain to our viewers what exactly a clinical trial is?
Certainly. Everything that we have available to us today in the form of, treatment or medicine has gone through and been approved, has gone through clinical trials and has been approved by the FDA. It's tested for safety and effectiveness. And so for cancer patients for whom standard of care has failed, or what's currently available on the market for treatment, when that doesn't work, cancer patients have to find an alternative, or else, unfortunately, cancer will probably win. So that means that clinical trials are literally a lifeline for our patients.
Yeah, and speaking of late-stage cancer diagnoses have increased, especially post-COVID, because people weren't able to make their appointments due to COVID restrictions. So in your experience, can you talk a little bit about how clinical trials have improved outcomes for patients, maybe more in the late stage?
Certainly, we have many patients who are with us today because they participated in a clinical trial. Um, Cancer is a tough journey, and unfortunately, we don't win all of the time, but we win much of the time. And, that could look like a better quality of life, extension of life. We have patients who've been alive for years because they've participated in trials. And we have many patients who've actually achieved remission and who are living life cancer-free. So, it's a wonderful way to take advantage of the latest and greatest that research has to offer.
Absolutely. And at the top of the interview, you mentioned you had a personal connection that kind of sparked Lazarex. So if possible, can you talk a little bit more about that experience and how it influenced your commitment to the mission of Lazarex?
Absolutely. We unfortunately lost my brother-in-law, but during the course of his treatment, I came to know a lot of people who needed similar assistance. And that's how Lazarex was founded. And to this day, 18 years later, we're still the only organization who offers a complete, and holistic approach to connecting patients to trials and then providing financial assistance to them. And this is really critically important for individuals who are disproportionately impacted by cancer. And unfortunately, right now, that is a lot of our communities of color. And so, it's really important to our organization that we remove barriers and create equitable access to cancer clinical trials and improve the diversity of participants.
Yeah, and while clinical trials can be crucial and can be life-saving, like in the experience with your brother-in-law, they're unfortunately not always accessible. So can you discuss what are some of the barriers that prevent people from being able to take part in clinical trials that we may not know about?
Certainly. So the first thing is knowledge, right? If you don't know about a clinical trial, you'll never be able to consider even participating. And unfortunately, in many instances, clinical trials are just not brought up by an oncologist or a treating physician. So, part of our mission is to break down the knowledge barrier and help people understand what clinical trials are so they can consider participating. Then you have the financial toxicity of cancer and, patients making decisions about do they want to participate in a trial based on their bank account, versus really what's best for them and their health. having to leave your support network and go, travel far away to participate in a trial, because unfortunately, trials are typically not in your own backyard. And then we have a lot of, cultural and historic barriers that are created for our communities of color, a lack of trust for, very legitimate reasons. And so it makes it even a little bit harder sometimes for community members to who come from communities of color to trust the system and to want to participate. And so we work really hard to, in a culturally appropriate way, to overcome those barriers as well.
Absolutely. And can you talk a little bit, while you discuss breaking down barriers, can you talk about some of the ways that Lazarex helps do this? Is it through networking, through fundraising? What is it through?
So we are a public charity, and we absolutely depend on public support in order to do what we do. Our ability to help patients is directly related to the amount of funding that we can raise, during the course of the year. And a lot of our programs are oriented to clinical trial navigation and supporting patients in trials. But we really feel that there's a lot more that we can do. So we have another program called the Cancer Wellness Hub. And the Lazarex Cancer Wellness Hub takes place in underserved communities of color to start at the beginning of the cancer journey, or even before, you may be diagnosed with cancer. So, the best gift that we can give someone is to not get cancer at all, right?
Yeah.
So we start engaging early and talk about, the importance of screenings and, early stage diagnosis and the decisions people can make to perhaps, avoid cancer, have a healthier lifestyle. If someone needs a screening and, they're diagnosed with cancer, then we help them understand what the treatment pathway looks like, and ultimately help them navigate through clinical trials if that becomes necessary.
And Donna, just lastly, we have less than a minute left, but I do want to ask you, where can the community go if they want to help out with this cause?
Please go. The best thing to do is to go to our website, which is lazarex.org, and it's LAZAREX.org. And on our website is all of the information regarding the services that we provide to cancer patients, their families, caregivers, and the community.
Donna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Again, for more information, you can visit their website at lazarex.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Congratulations to BronxNet on its 30th anniversary. And I'm blessed that I was here shortly after the beginning of BronxNet. At that time, I took the field and studio classes, and I spent a lot of time helping other people have shows before I put my toe in the water and decided to have a show for myself. For those of you who are familiar with the Blackwash Televised Art Gallery, that was my first show on my own. And now I am pumping up La Finca del Sur, doing Eating Healthy with La Finca del Sur on BronxNet's Channel 70. And I appreciate everyone watching.
Welcome back. February 7th marks National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. Despite advancements in the HIV fight, racial disparities still endure. In 2022, the Bronx shoulders a disproportionate HIV burden with over 30,000 residents living with HIV or AIDS. Joining us to tell us more is Amida Care's Community Outreach Coordinator, Jeffrey Feliz-Ybes. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here and to share my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start off, today marks National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. So can you tell us about the significance of this day and its importance in raising awareness about HIV and AIDS within the Black community?
For me, the significance has to do more with the fact that it took me about 6 years to get tested for HIV. And I can't stress the fact enough that getting tested for HIV should be something that we should all be doing. It took me 6 years. I was diagnosed with AIDS at the time. I had the prognosis of dying. And that was just a life and death situation. Do you want to live? Do you want to die? So HIV Awareness Testing Day is very important for me, especially among the Black and Brown community, because we don't tend to go to the doctors. We don't tend, we don't, it is, going to the doctors and going to clinics is not the most inviting place for us. So I want to stress the fact that it is so important to get tested and to actually find a clinic that you can go to and get tested at.
Yeah, absolutely. And the New York State AIDS Institute reports that Black New Yorkers account for 41% of all new HIV diagnoses in 2022. So can you talk a little bit about why do racial disparities persist in HIV diagnosis and what steps are being taken to address this issue?
I will have to say that I haven't seen enough efforts being taken by the whole entire community. But I have seen a change. I work with a company, Amida, who is trying to change that. And Amida is trying to get people into care, trying to get people into their is trying to get people aware, make people aware that they need to get tested, and they also need to be aware of their status. And we're connecting them into care. My primary job is to get people into care. I love what I do, because if I had had that, I probably would not have been diagnosed with AIDS. If I had had someone who said, hey, I know you're at risk. You are in the high risk bracket, and you're in our insurance plan. Can I get you into care? Can we bring you to care? What can I do to help you get into that care that you need, so you can care for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important that you're now taking your story and you're kind of paying it forward with working with Amida Care. But on the basis of that, I also want to discuss that only 12% of Black New Yorkers use pre-exposure prophylaxis, despite its effectiveness in preventing HIV. So can we talk a little bit about the barriers that exist in PrEP utilization, especially among the Black population, and how can these barriers be overcome?
I believe that a lot of Black and Brown folks, we believe that by taking the medication, it will give you HIV. As we all know, there is not that much trust from the Black and brown community in the medical community because of all the science and all the things that happened prior. So overcoming those barriers, I don't know if we have done enough, but it requires individuals like myself to say, hey, I'm on these medications. It requires more of us, brown and Black folks, who are positive, who are benefiting from the medication, because I would not be here 13 years later if it wasn't for these drugs. So it just requires more of us to say, the science is there, the science is real, the science is confirming people like me living with HIV 13 years ago. So it requires a lot more of our individuals. And that's why I thank you so much for interviewing me so that I can express this, because it requires more of us telling our people that I'm thriving with HIV.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for just sharing with us your story and being able to do that. We have about a minute left, but before we wrap, can you just stress the importance of early detection and being on the lookout?
Well, what I want to say is I'm here today because I took that test, and it was the scariest moment of my life. And getting the diagnosis that I was positive was even worse. But had I not taken that test, I would not be here talking to you. So, early detection is key. Getting tested is important. Knowing your status, we all have a status, whether you're positive, negative. But being undecided is not an option if you want to live.
Absolutely. Jeffrey, I just want to thank you once again just for taking the time to speak with us and stressing the importance of this. I think this was a really important conversation to have. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. For more information, you can visit their website at amidacareny.org and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at AmidaCare. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all our guests for joining and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recable cast on Optimum Channel 67, Verizon Fios 2133, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. This wraps up this episode for us. I'm Brittany Aubain. Make sure to keep this channel wide open. Take care.